This is the meeting of the Administrative Committee, and it is June 13th, 2 o'clock. So let's call to order. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? No. Okay. So at this point, we can see if there's any public attending and if they have any
We need a
comments.
roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Thank you. Roll call vote.
Director Edwards,
Here.
Director Paul,
Here.
Chair Anderson.
Here.
All members are present.
So there's no additions or corrections to the agenda. And let's see if there's any public that might want to have a comment about the things that are not on the agenda.
Madam Chair, there are no members of the public in attendance.
Okey doke.
Hey.
So, the first item is the committee meeting minutes from May 9th.
I just have one rather picky little correction to the minutes, and that is in item 5, where there's a reference to the WDD database system. I would prefer it if we could just spell that out. I think it's the first time it's mentioned in this document, even though we know what it is, just because this is a, public record. It'll be more intelligible to the uninitiated.
It does say that in the title in number 5. It says Water Demand Division Database.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. All right. Well, if you put WDD in parentheses after that, that'll take care of it.
that's true. That's an easy
Just-
too.
Just the first time I saw it, I thought, what is that? And I figured it out, but we shouldn't, be easier, more intelligible. As I said, a picky detail, and maybe you think it's not worth the correction, but just suggestion.
I would suggest that all the way through whenever there's the first mention of something that's going to be turned into 3 letters, to
And that-
have it the first time it's mentioned in a paragraph.
Yeah, just a
Um,
general practice.
And I want
Madam
to
Chair, that could be woven into a motion.
Yeah, I move that we approve the minutes with that one correction.
Second,
roll call.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
And thank you, Sarah, for sending that other addition, correction for number 1.
You're welcome.
Okay, number 2.
So Sarah, I believe, sent out a correction on the first page of that.
Yeah.
Memo.
Adding the names of the
The
Director.
date, a resolution 2022 should be 17, you said, Sarah?
Yes, the title on the agenda is correct, but the references in the report are not. But those will be corrected for the board meeting packet.
And Madam Chair, you do have one member of the public.
Okay. Hand raised.
No?
Oh, okay. So item number 2 is about the election, the upcoming election.
Yeah, this is the general election for the 3 districts. We have voter divisions 1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
We did get a estimate from the elections department that is on the low end 249,000 to high end 332,000. The actual billing doesn't actually occur until about April or May of the following year. So like the November election, we won't get the actual billing until April or May. For the last 10 years, that I've been here, worked with the election department. They've always been on the lower end of the estimate, just because once the actual election goes through, they do their calculations, they do their the fixed and variable cost and all that. But on, just for a estimate purposes, they do give us the range of number. So what we've done is, just like previous years, what we have done is we have budgeted the low end number because we feel comfortable that that number is going to be the actual number. So fiscal year budget 22-23 does identify $250,000 for the election cost. But because the election department has given us the range of the number for the election cost, we are just asking for the authorization on the high end number. And then if, let's just say, for some reason, we find out that the cost is going to be exceeding whatever we've budgeted, then we will definitely do a mid-year budget revision for that. But we don't anticipate a mid-year budget adjustment. It's just that we are asking a authorization for the higher end number.
Yes, okay.
Through the chair, and I understand if there's only one candidate for a given position, that we can cancel the election for that position. Is that right? And save some money?
Are you asking me?
Well,
Asking me? I don't know.
our
That's true.
That's the case. If you run unopposed, then yeah, there's no ballot cost and it does save us money.
I think your microphone is very low, Dave. I could barely hear you. Is that just my ears?
That is a part of an ongoing problem with the conversion to laptops.
Hmm.
Huh.
You know,
Subtitles.
yeah, I'm not sure what to do.
It's a little bit better,
Are
whatever.
you using the laptop, Dave?
No.
Oh.
Okay. Any questions from the board members, committee members?
Not for me.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this item 2.
I'll second it.
I second it. Second, that we recommend approval to the board. Okay,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, we need to go out to the public.
All right. You want to do that, Sarah?
Yes, one member is a staff person, and if you wish to comment on any of the items, please raise your hand. And I see no raised hand.
Okay, thank you. So I think we're ready for a vote.
Director Edwards,
Approval?
Director Paul,
yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. So, Suresh, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so this is, directors, this is again a authorization to contract for limited term field positions. This is a recurring item that we have been bringing to the board on an annual basis. What happens is during the year, if there is a need to hire the water resource assistant and the fisheries aides to help with the fish rescue program and environmental resources division group, then we have the blanket approval to go ahead and hire the limited term positions. All these funds have been budgeted for. It's included in the fiscal year 22-23 budget. So we are just seeking your authorization to approve this item so that during the year, starting July, if there is a need to hire the limited term positions, we'll be able to go ahead and hire them.
through the chair, and they are classified as employees, and we pay the employer part of Social Security taxes.
Yes, just the Medicare and the Social Security. They are no other benefits.
Thank you.
Okay, was this in last year's budget?
Yes, it was.
So we're just moving it forward again.
Correct. Every year we have to go through this so that the environmental resources group can go through the fish rescue program when and if that happens.
Okay,
So I move to recommend approval of this recommendation.
Second,
Okay, let's go out to the public.
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Okay, thank you. So we're ready for a vote.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
yes,
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
And I passed 3 already.
we're on
That 3 or are we?
4.
Okay. Um, Thomas, you want to take this one?
Yes, I will. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so this is also a recurring item. This is associated with the Sleepy Hollow Steelhead rearing facility. It's really related to all the technical aspects of the facility, such as the computer that runs it and tracks water levels, allows us to see those water levels at 3 in the morning when alarms go off. It allows reprogramming of certain things if we find a way to improve something. And it also basically allows the consultant to come out and troubleshoot with us if we get alarms and need additional help out at the facility. We forecasted 26,000 for the annual cost of this, and I just shared my screen. I'm not sure if everyone can see it. I
yes,
just received the proposal. Everything is pretty much identical to last year, except for, obviously this higher insurance cost.
Hmm.
So that is the what we had to do last year for kind of the mid-year budget adjustment. But so the true ask would be subject to your approval would be $27,060. Basically $1,000 over the budgeted amount. I don't know if Suresh would want that number updated in this year's budget or deal with it at a mid-year budget. But basically we're in the forecasted budget, we only had 26, but the proposal from the consultant is 27,060.
So the big difference is because of insurance costs?
Well, last year we spent 26,000 and this year we're proposing 27,060.
the question was because the insurance cost is higher than it last year.
Yeah, we had that jump last year because of our insurance requirements went up.
Yes, I remember.
That got passed on to us. So this reflects that
Yeah,
for 9,120 for the year.
Okay, any additional questions from directors?
well, I say we go with that 27, because I don't want to see this at mid-year if I'm still around. So I approve the $27,060 on it.
I second that.
Okay, are there any raised hands, Sarah?
Let me stop the screen share.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Let me get back to the full screen here so I can stop this screen share. Something popped up here.
And I presume there's a way to adjust for the slight discrepancy in the amount in the budget.
I'm having a heck of a time getting back to where I was on this. Okay, there it is.
So,
Okay, screen share should be stopped.
Yes,
Okay.
And I see no raised hands from the public.
Okay, well, we're ready for the vote.
Director Edwards,
Move approval.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
So we are on to item number 5. For expenditure of funds for the CoreLogic Information Solutions. And is
That's-
Stephanie here to speak with us? There she
I
is.
am.
Okay.
I'm just hiding.
Yeah.
So, no, this is an annual expenditure request for the CoreLogic Information Solutions that we use to obtain property information. It gives us information about transfers of ownership and who we're supposed to mail documents to. We use it daily, everybody in our office, and occasionally it's used by members of the other divisions. So the request this year will be $20,000 to continue using the services for the CoreLogic system.
I have a question
Mhm.
through the chair. Why do the applicants not pay 100% of the recording fee?
Because the district requires the recordation of the public access deed restriction that allows us to be able to obtain their CalAm water records or water records from the water company that otherwise would be proprietary. And so since we required it, our board at the time that it was required said we're not charging for it.
Okay, but the applicant pays 40% of the recording fee.
The
You're-
applicant pays for the other documents that are recorded.
Okay, I see. Thank
So
you.
there's always the public access deed restriction is recorded for every permit we issue.
Mhm,
And then the other deed restrictions, depending on what is required as part of the water permit.
mhm. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So this is not in with that new interface y'all trying to do, design y'all trying to do with the county?
No, this is not.
It's completely different from that, huh?
Yes.
Okay. I move approval.
Second,
Any questions from the public? Sarah?
I see no raised hands, Chair Paul, Chair Anderson.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a vote. I don't have any questions about this one.
Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Paul,
yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, Stephanie, you are up again.
All right, next item is approve expenditure to corporation service company for recording fees. And this also is one of those annual approvals that we need. And this is for the recording of documents. So we record about 100 documents a month and we do it electronically, where we used to have a courier drive over and record them. Now it's all done electronically, but we have a need to have this fund funded at all times because as we use money, we have to renew the fees in the account. So we're requesting approval of the expenditure of $50,000 for recording fees for the next fiscal year.
and that was the item I was asking about. I
So
was
is it, okay. And
wrong. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, and in this case, and it actually goes to the same thing as there are documents that the district records. And so those are costs that the district covers. And it's not always an applicant, but we'll record notices of non-compliance on properties. And then when the property owner gets compliant, they pay the fees to get the things taken off. But, and again, this goes also to the recording of the public access, and that's an expense that the district has covered, whereas the applicants pay the other costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why do you say partial reimbursement? You mean it, we're gonna see this at mid-year review?
No, you shouldn't see this again. Actually, you did see it at mid-year this year because we had underfunded for the year and didn't realize that we were going to be recording as many documents as we did. But we took that information and put it into the budget for next year. So hopefully we won't see you at Vineyard.
Okay,
Thank you. All right, do we have any questions from the public about this one? Sarah,
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
thank you. Let's have a vote.
oh, make a motion that we approve this.
Oh, I thought you did that.
No, I just asked a
Okay.
question.
Thank you. I second it.
Director Edwards,
Approval?
Director Paul,
Yes,
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay.
Shall I continue?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this item, number 7, is consider approval of expenditure for functionality improvements to the Excella Water Demand Division, WDD database. And actually, I'm looking at the staff report. I do not think the number is correct. I think it's supposed to be $52,000, which was approved by the board at the May 16th board meeting. The reason it's coming back to you today is because the staff recommendation at the board meeting was approval for a contract with Excella to do the work. And in fact, it is not Excella that we would be contracting with, it is eTech Consulting. And so because the board approved that item specific to Excella, it has to come back again and get your approval. So it's just kind of coming back as a technicality. But I think the number is 52, not 42,000.
And that's the design for that county project y'all talking about?
That is not including the county interactive database, no. And that was explained at the May board meeting.
so through the chair, I have a couple of questions. Why is this a different consultant that we're using?
Well,
That's-
my understanding is that eTech actually does work under, or they subcontract with Excella, but our contract will be paying eTech, which is what their proposal was.
Yeah,
what Excella's-
let me add just a few more comments on this one. Acela does not do the actual work. They actually go through the approved subcontractor. In this case, eTech is the one that does all the configuration and all that work. So they directly work with Acela, but Acela does not take on enhancements and all that kind of work directly themselves.
So who's responsible for overseeing the project and quality control? Is it Excella?
That'll be between eTech and district staff.
Between eTech and the district? Directly, okay. Is this system currently operational?
Oh, yes.
Okay, because it wasn't totally clear to me. It's because it says that some of the hoped for features never became functional, weren't completed in the first round, and you're going to try again with some of them.
Yeah, it was a huge project. It took several years of programming. And then once they had kind of finished the initial programming, we found things that needed tweaking, so to speak, to make it more functional for us. Plus, anytime rules change or documents change, those are things that we need to have assistance with through the Excella programming team.
So about how much was the original contract for?
It was $750,000.
Wow, that's huge. And was the performance of the contractor satisfactory?
I would say so under the circumstances. Yeah, it was an off-the-shelf product that had to be manipulated to be able to do what we needed it to do. So it wasn't, if you're in a normal planning or building department, you don't have all the nuances that we have at the water district. And so it took a great deal of programming to try to make it fit into our regime here.
I noticed that the budget includes $55,000 for the project, but you said that you wanted this to be 52 rather than the 42. So which,
Yeah, and when it came to the board, it was 52,000. And that was an adjustment. If you recall, at the last AdCom meeting, we had had this discussion about the county having this tie into the county. And then upon further review after the AdCom meeting, staff got clarification that that $8,000 that we had thought was going to help make that work was actually just to put together a proposal. And so clearly that doesn't make sense at this time. We pulled that out. And then we added in a piece that Suresh needed for the accounting process. And so so that came to the 52,000. And yes, we'd had budgeted 55 originally,
okay,
but yes, it's been adjusted.
52,000. That was a lot of iterations. Thank you. Any other questions from,
I just want to know when they're going to get started on this one. Because I know y'all probably need a budget adjustment at mid-year review. I'm trying to get prepared for it. So when they're going to start on this one?
Suresh, do you have any idea on the starting?
It'll have to be after July 20th, because that's when the approval authorization comes from the board. So it'll
Okay.
most likely kick off. I'm assuming probably another week for the end of fiscal year. So most likely it'll be after July 1.
Okay, did we put anything in contingencies for this one? Because I know it's coming back.
Yeah, there's a little bit of contingency in that
Okay.
52,000.
Is
All right, thank you.
that account for the discrepancy between the quote and the 52,000?
It's part of the 52,000.
Because the quote, the service estimate says a little under 49,000. So the contingency is the difference.
The content, actually, the content, so the quote includes that $8,000 county piece that we pulled out.
Uh-huh.
And then we added in, I think it was 5,000 for Suresh and the accounting project. And then the remainder of that would be a reserve.
Thank you.
do we have a second?
Second,
Well,
Do we need to
did we make a motion to approve?
I didn't remember hearing.
Okay, make a motion to
All
approve
right.
this. I know I'm going to see it again.
All right, I'll second
Okay,
Director Woodward's motion to recommend approval.
any hands up?
No, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch who made the motion.
Director Edwards made the motion.
Thank you.
Seconded by Paul.
Okay, we are ready for a vote.
Director Edwards,
Move approval.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes,
Motion passes 3-0.
you know, I'm going to, I have a request. And a request would be that when somebody has some spare time to do it, if we had, if the directors had a list of these many software programs that you use and what they're related to, like the ones related to the fish facility and the cello, what that's related to, you've got a lot of software programs that we're using at some point, as I said, in somebody's leisure time, just to list those and then the program, because when I hear them again, I think, I know I've heard that. Which one is that? Just a request.
Yeah, Director Anderson, we already have that information posted on our website. We can definitely send it out to the committee members.
Great. Thank you.
And just for clarification, on our website, it is listed under as Enterprise Catalog System or something like that.
For all of the programs?
All of the programs that the district uses, correct?
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I clearly didn't find that. Number 8. This is, looks like a Stephanie again. Summer Splash.
Yes, it's another Stephanie.
Yeah, different Stephanie, I realize.
Well, no, so this is just requesting approval for Summer Splash 3, which is a educational program on water efficiency that's geared toward families and children. This will be our third year of doing it. It is a joint program with Cal-Am. Cal-Am does carry a portion of the advertising costs. And so this is a budgeted item, and we are requesting approval of the expenditure of up to $20,000 for this outreach event. The Water Demand Committee was given an opportunity to comment. I did not receive any comments, but anyway, it's been something that has had good, it's been received well, and we've had some good participation. So we wanted to do it again this year.
Do you have participation numbers?
I can get them.
I mean, how do you evaluate whether the numbers are good and whether this program is?
Yeah, I can get them, Karen. The other Stephanie would know those numbers, and she's not in the office today. So
Okay. Just would be good, how do you evaluate whether the program is a worthwhile investment? No, I mean, seriously, you must have thought about it in order to recommend continuing it.
well, I think the fact that we have that there is, like I said, a decent number of participants in the program, that both the district and Cal-Am feel that this is an educational opportunity that people are enjoying and like and learning from. So it's, I can ask for more details from the others, but that's kind of my take on this.
Thank you.
So on page 35, the district itself is paying 15,000.
I believe that is, yes, I believe that is our approximate cost.
So what's the half of Cal-Am?
I didn't.
You asked for 20,000, but this is 15,000. So
No,
5,000 is for what?
I didn't actually, up to 20,000 is what we would like to have budgeted. Cal-Am is paying a portion of that. I don't know exactly what that portion is because they're also helping to put some of the advertising together for us. Yeah, and I provided the budget that was given to me, so
Okay, I just want to know what's that? The 5,000 for giving something out, a piece of paper or balloon or something, or it's just contingency extra in there?
and it may have, hang on a second, let me pull up my staff report here.
I'm just looking at page 35. I see the media place is 12,000. Agency medium plan is 3,000. And the full total is 15,000 and $6.50.
That's just for media.
That's just for media. So is nothing else involved?
Oh, well, yeah, and then the purchase of the prizes.
Prizes. Mhm.
We had a website, we had to do some website design. And I think,
Okay,
yes,
but
that-
you've been doing this for 3 years. Now y'all doing a new website design for it?
every year we have to have our website updated with the new project
Okay.
and the new game board.
All right.
I have one comment, and that's about the prizes.
Mhm.
The $50 gift card. It's fine with me to have gift cards as prizes, but I prefer it be a gift card that the recipients could use anywhere. So if people prefer not to shop at Amazon, to use the card, for example, at a local business,
Mhm.
that they can do that. Some people are trying to avoid shopping at Amazon because Amazon is taking over the world.
I think that can be arranged. So,
Just like a credit card.
yeah, if
And-
that's the recommendation of the committee, I will take that back and we'll put that in the staff report
Yeah, how many of those $50 cards you're giving out?
too.
It's a small thing, but the card, it's easy to get a card that can be used anywhere.
Hey, y'all couldn't give out $10 ones to more people than 2 people?
I think it's
Spread
actually,
it around.
I think it's 6 gift cards.
Is it 6
Six
gift
gift-
cards?
For how much there, General Manager?
50,
For 50,
Each.
okay, that's,
and that's like the third place prize. Previously, we did iPads. This time it's a high efficiency clothes washer, which is a heck of a prize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a
well,
cistern.
sometimes I feel like you can cut all that up and give more out to people than just that one big washer. You know, you get more people involved when you can spread it around a little bit more than, you know, that 1 in 1,000 chance of winning. If I can get $10, $15 or something, a lot of people are pretty happy with that. But, you know, go ahead.
I would think a bigger prize might attract people to play in the first place. And then they're happy if they get a $50 gift card.
Man, that's true.
I mean, yeah. If they already have a clothes washer, can they say, pass it on to the next person?
Yeah, I think they get a choice. So
Okay,
yeah, the first person gets the first choice and then
yeah.
Give me cash.
All right. Any other questions about this item from directors?
Move approval.
Second,
Sarah? You're up. Any,
Right. Director
Comments?
Edwards,
how about comments
Approval.
from the public?
I see no raised hands.
Okay, thank you.
Director Paul,
yes,
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, before we move on, I'm sorry, should have said something earlier, but in the rules, they still talking about winners receiving an iPad.
all right, I checked the rules that were on the proposed website and it did not have that. So I think it has been fixed or that was edited.
Okay, good,
But thank you. I will double check that.
okay. All right,
Okay. All right. Temporary agency employee.
Yes, directors, this is one of those recurring items again.
Yeah.
This is to authorize us to hire a temporary staff. We'll continue with the hiring of the temporary staff from Universal Staffing. The particular individual that we've had on board for several years now has got a very good skill set of just focusing on scanning and data entry, data migration. So he's done a great job with that. All that work hasn't been completed yet. We'd like to continue with that. However, there is another authorization on the agenda today to bring on a full-time individual. And if that happens, then we will not need to hire the temporary staff from Universal Staffing because the hiring of the full-time individual will suffice the need for the data migration work that the temporary agency employee is doing. So we are asking for this authorization in the event the other action doesn't go through. But even if the other action goes through, we will still need to have the temporary agency employee at least for several months before we bring the full-time person on board, which is, I believe, categorized as administrative assistant. So in either way, we will need this action. But if the other action goes through as well, then we will not be using all that $43,000 to hire the temp agency for the entire year. It may only be
A month or two, something like that. Did we just lose you, Suresh?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, that is the plan. And to speak a little more clearly on it, it's the same person.
Mhm.
We're just running afoul of, potentially running afoul of labor law by continuing to have a temporary person serve the district on an ongoing basis.
Mm.
And we don't want to trade the person out for somebody else who's untrained. So we like his skill set.
Yeah.
But PERS does not like the idea of temporary contracts for the same identified body renewed year in and year out.
But this is
you-
only, how long do they work? What's the term?
Well,
Job.
yeah, so it's been a year-long term,
Oh,
which is not really temporary.
is it?
And he's been with the district 7 years?
Off and
Longer.
on, off and on. He was discharged during COVID. And so that at least creates, you know, a period of separation. But yeah, he's been here probably 9 or 10 years.
And how many hours a week is that?
He's working full-time.
Full time?
And we just offering him a job now?
No, he is not being, we would open it up and he will have to apply for the job
Yes.
and qualify.
If you create a,
If the position, if the administrative
if you-
position, yeah.
and the issue that Dave Stoll just alluded to of you know, labor laws about using temporary employees, and some restrictions on that, it seemed to me that was an issue with another item on the agenda about creating a new position for administrative assistant.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
Yeah,
If we have that approved, then we don't have to
and we won't need the.
continue this. We won't need to continue it beyond how long they need to
Correct.
get to the hiring of an admin assistant.
The admin assistant would take over this responsibility?
Correct. Yes.
Exactly.
Who supervises the temporary worker now?
He is in the water demand division, so he's under me.
But we use him kind of in all three divisions when there's, like when we closed out the Carmel Valley satellite office, there were a significant number of documents that needed to be scanned to electronic format. So
Plus maps and large
Map
format
and
documents
plans and-
and,
yeah.
yeah.
So
That's-
through the chair, so the staff note says that this increases efficiency for retrieving documents. Have we got a retrieval system that is working?
yeah,
And-
it's kind of threefold. The water demand division keeps everything in property files, so related to the assessor's parcel number.
Uh-huh.
And that's basically just in Microsoft Explorer, you know, just a regular filing system. But then we've got human resources records in DocuWare in a secure part of DocuWare, which is a document management system. And I believe now that Suresh is bringing over some of the financial documents into DocuWare. And at some point, we're contemplating trying to bring other important documents like contracts and so forth into DocuWare. So there is, you know, DocuWare can be serviced as a document management system. And I apologize for my screenshot. I'm not sure which microphone I'm speaking into, so I've got, I just keep,
We are
It's
hearing,
better.
It's working, yeah.
yeah,
yeah, I think they turned it on to my laptop and not the camera on top of my big monitor. So
yeah.
I have to turn to my laptop to speak and turn back to my monitor to look.
So
We
the-
see you.
The reason for my question about the retrieval is just, it occurred to me you have a temporary employee doing the scanning of the documents, but the staff has to be able to retrieve the documents, the permanent staff, and I just hope that is, that they know how to do it.
Yeah, the filing system has been working very well for all the documents, I think.
Okay.
That's what the business side.
Okay, great. No more questions from me.
All right. Director Edwards, you're clear?
I'm clear on it.
Okay.
Move approval, then from the public.
Second,
And I see no raised hands. in the public.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Paul,
yes.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay, and the next one is Stephanie.
Again. This item is the consideration of approval for drought reserve funds for conservation outreach and communication while we are in stage 2 conservation. And so what I am looking for is the approval of up to $60,000 of drought reserve funds for stage 2 water conservation efforts. Those efforts have not been fully fleshed out at this point, but we have met with CalAm. We know we will be doing targeted advertising, promoting our watering days, water waste, and the rebate program. I have mailings that need to go out to the hospitality industry, to the jurisdictions and the cities and schools. And then we've also been working to identify properties that have ornamental grass that need to be informed that they're not supposed to be irrigating. We would like to add some outreach events, including some more training. We've got our G3 classes that have been extremely well received, where we've had over 200 people attending these classes, and we'd like to bring back a couple of those over the summer. So those would be included in this $60,000. But yeah, for right now, that's the request, is that we tap the drought reserve for up to $60,000 for this effort.
That's the normal source of the money every year for this project?
Yes, well,
No,
not-
because
not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because droughts are becoming normal, but we hope that they remain infrequent. And so the idea would be to tap that reserve and then replenish it in a subsequent fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
So this is enough money. You know how I feel about mid-year review. You're coming back asking for more money for
Yeah,
something
we
that you
did,
should have asked for in advance, any
Yeah, if you
contingency on this?
Remember in 2015, 16, we did the Save Water, Go Blue outreach program with specially marked shower buckets and some drive-through giveaway supply, conservation devices. And that budget, I believe, ended up being 90,000. But it was a 2-year program. And so I think 60 is adequate. We'll just have to cap our expenditures to stay within that budget.
Okay, sound good to me.
Yeah.
You sure you don't want to put a contingency on that? Y'all know how I am about mid-year. You're coming back asking for money that you should have asked for in the beginning and not doing programs that you should have been doing in the beginning to move money into mid-year. So,
It'll be raining by mid-year budget time, and
I hope so. I hope for y'all's sake. Okay.
All right. Any other questions about this from the directors? Do we have a motion?
Karen, Mike, she moved to approval. Your mic is off there,
Oh,
Karen.
can't hear you, Karen. You're on mute.
Sorry. I attempted to move to recommend approval.
I'll second.
Okey doke.
Director Anderson, I see no raised hands. I will take the vote.
All right, thank you.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay, the next one is contract with Pueblo Water to provide hydrogeologic review for water distribution system permits.
And this is me again. So,
Gee, your name is Gabriella now. huh?
yeah, I'm covering for everybody in my office today. So this is an annual, again, another annual contract. We contract with Pueblo to respond to our level 3 water distribution systems as needed. And that is a fully reimbursable expense. But we do have to contract with them in that. So we go with a $2,000 limit. And again, this is just an annual item that we have not had to use their services for the last at least 3 years, but we want to make sure that we've got them in contract if we need them. And so that's what this item is.
And you said it was a it's a level 3 water distribution.
System permit, yeah.
And what does that mean, level 3?
A level 3 permit is usually a well that is in the alluvial aquifer or in the seaside groundwater basin.
Thank you.
And it requires much more review than something that would be in fractured rock or an upland well.
Mhm. Okay. So you haven't had to do it because lately, because you haven't had any of these requested from a level 3 source? Is that the reason?
No, and I'm actually not sure why we have not used them, other than that I think our staff has been able to respond to these types of situations. We certainly have had a number of level 3 permits. And I think that if our current staff is able to do that, and John, you can respond as well, that they do that rather than our contracting out.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. That there's another instance that this gets triggered is if a well is within 1,000 feet of the resource system, and we've been able to develop a. We've since changed our operations, and we offer this service to sample the permittees well for them and take it to the lab that's reimbursable again, and to analyze the water quality of the well and to determine if the water quality in the well that's near the water resource system is deriving its water from the water resource system. So we've gone that route kind of the last 3 years or so. And we haven't had any wells in the alluvial aquifer proper to re-permit because there's a moratorium on moving those forward, as well as the seaside groundwater basin, that there's you can't put a new well in as a new producer. So it's just been 100% wells that are within 1,000 feet of the water resource system.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
For me.
Okay, let's take it out to the public, please.
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Okay. Take a vote. Oh, do we have a- I'm getting it ahead of myself, sorry. Second, I'll second it.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Number 12.
I've only got 2 left, I think. No, probably 3
State
left.
Rule 24.
This is your annual adoption of a resolution to update the water capacity fee that is annually called out in our rules and regs to be updated by use of the CPI. And so every year we update the table. It's going from $32,008 an acre foot to $33,608 per acre foot. And I don't know if you have any questions about that, but that's, like I said, this is a standard thing we do every July 1st.
This has to do with the CPI. That's what changes it.
It's,
That's
yes,
correct.
it's raised by the CPI.
I move approval.
Second,
And just so you know, at some future meeting, I think we're going to bring forward a discussion about cutting this fee and maybe delinking it from CPI. Because as you know, impact fees in general, you know, architectural review fees, planning board fees, building permit fees, these are additive. And, you know, this is the cost of kind of connecting into all of the services that the district provides. But I think we may want to take a look at whether it's grown disproportionately away, because other ways people pay for services, of course, are through the user fee and the water supply charge. And so this may be another area to look at. It is specific to the water permit, the issuance of the water permit. So, you know, it is specific to a homeowner, either doing a remodel or new construction. So it has the complexion of a connection charge. But again, we probably should take a look at whether it's overpriced, underpriced, or priced just right. Something to look at.
Has it ever come up? Has there ever been any issues raised by the public about this?
No, mostly because we've been in a mode where it's primarily been remodels. And if the sum of your remodel is just a 1/10 of an acre foot, it's $3,300. And so it's never been really onerous. But for a new construction, you know, if it's a big house, it could be 15 grand, it could be 10 grand.
Or if you're a small pizza business that wants to
Or a
go
small
into a
pizza
retail
business,
shop,
yep.
it's going to cost you 25,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, do we have a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Okay, and we do have no raised hands, so I will proceed with the vote.
Okay,
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Director Paul,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Oh, yeah. We are at
12.1.
12.1.
I guess it's rather self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Do you have to replace these every year, or is
No. The last time we replaced them, I think we may have placed an order in 2016 and 2018. So it's been quite a while. And but because of our stage 2 and our upping the enforcement and starting to get the message out, I've got to get these items. Oops, is that, there it is.
Yeah.
Ordered as soon as possible and out to the hospitality community. And I also want to say that the Hospitality Association has been working with me on this, but not all restaurants, not all hotels are members of the Monterey County Hospitality Association. So, you know, we are doing our best to get the outreach going. And I want to make sure that we have this equipment available.
Is there a problem distributing them to the businesses that aren't a member?
No, our staff will be out visiting restaurants and hotels to remind them of our requirements. And so as part of that, they'll be able to offer that. The Hospitality Association actually had a table set up at their quarterly luncheon last week with all these devices and signs. So they're actively making those available. And I will be working with them to make sure that we have distribution through them as well as through the district and Cal-Am. But yeah, at this point, we are a little low on some of these things, and I just really want to get our stock back up so we can take care of the community.
Thank you.
Through the chair, the restaurants and hotels that are not members of the Hospitality Association, or there's mostly small ones?
You know, I think that's probably true, Karen. Most of the big ones are members. And again, my goal is to actually send a letter to all of the hotels and restaurants. And so I'm disregarding the fact that Hospitality Association doesn't cover everybody. I think we're going to hit them through our mailing and let them know that this stuff will be available for them.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, and the non-members are mostly restaurants, because there's a lot of value added from their association to the hotels. They do activities for the hotels. They have a hotel Olympics. And so there's a real incentive to, bed making.
I was a judge once.
Carrying trays of glassware, a whole variety of skills. And so from that standpoint, and then they host, a golf tournament, and they do these quarterly luncheons, and they work very closely with the Convention and Visitor Bureau. So the hotels seem to be a higher percentage of membership, but there are still even the small mom and pop hotels, or the week-long residence hotels with the small kitchens that are less likely to be members. So we have to find them and track them down.
Yeah, interesting. Who could make a bed with really tight corners the fastest or something?
They did.
That's the contest. That
I'm
is the
sure.
contest.
I'm sure. All right. So do we have any other questions from the directors?
Just one. How come this one lumped in with the other one we just did? The one back with the 60,000. Here's the $11,000 more we throwing into that, sort of like. Oh, you went on mute there. On off mute.
Yeah, I'm letting Stefan grab that one.
There you go.
Alvin, this is coming out of this year's budget.
Oh, okay. I thought the other one was coming out of the district budget.
No, this is in the fiscal year 2021-22 budget. So it is already in the budget, and it has been approved as part of the budget.
Okay. Yeah, I'll find another way to rob me.
Okay. All right. Any questions about this from the public? Oh, did somebody move to? I keep forgetting this.
You're doing good. You're doing good. You asked for the
I'll
public.
move to approve it.
I'll second it for you.
Okay, thank you.
And there are no raised hands, Director Anderson.
Thank you.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
$13.
Okay, these next 6 items are related to the Water Resources Division. So good afternoon. This first one is to consider a contract with Pueblo Water Resources to provide aquifer storage recovery operational support. This is an annual contract we do every year. When it starts raining, as Dave said, it's going to. The Water Resources Division has a number of staff that go out and measure the high flow events in the Carmel River, and some staff that goes and operates ASR and turns ASR on. This contract is instead of hiring an additional person that we don't really need when it's not raining and we're not operating. This is to supply about 300 hours as needed to support the operation of ASR. We use Pueblo because they have expertise on multiple levels, from operation of ASR to the constraints of our permits, our water rights permits, and our regional board permits, as well as experience with our regulators. So they're they have an ability to plug in at any level at any time that the program needs support. This is as needed. So if if we do not need them, we will not spend this money. And this money is also reimbursed through the ASR agreement. So it is cost borne by the ratepayer, but it is not cost borne by the district. It is reimbursed back through CalAm. So with that, I can answer any questions related to this item.
So is it a way to track? I know you got to track this, but is the way to get back to the committee, like the 75,000, how much you used out of it for like the last 2 years? So we, I like to see that in the report in the future.
Okay.
So we can know where how much we really spend it. If they
Okay.
haven't rained real, I think they did two measurements this year, one measurement this year, one measurement last year. How much that is costing us? So that's what I like to know, how much they be working. $75,000, a lot of money.
That's absolutely possible. It gets a separate purchase order every year, and we track against it with the express purpose of the reimbursement. There are some activities that Pueblo is also used for. Say if we have some specialized construction management or something that items need repair, we'll use them as well for that. So it is related to mostly ASR operations, but also ASR maintenance as well. But we can't get you those numbers.
Yeah, just put them in the future reports coming
Okay.
out so we can know.
Okay,
For this particular item, you're saying that all costs are reimbursed?
that is correct, Director Anderson. These items and operation of ASR and environmental compliance of ASR are all covered as items that are reimbursable through the amended and restated ASR agreement that we just brought through the board this last year.
Okay. But so that it's ratepayer and CalAm, well, it's ratepayer
Right.
paying it.
Correct.
The CalAm manages it. Payment. Okay, I'm clear on this one. Any other questions from the directors?
For me, I move to recommend approval.
I'll second it.
All right. Questions from the public?
I see no raised hands, Chair Anderson.
Thank you.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 14 is also related to aquifer storage and recovery operations, but more to the water quality monitoring that's required by the Regional Water Quality Control Board for project operations and compliance. This would be authorizing staff to spend up to $40,000 at Monterey Bay Analytical Services to run water quality samples that are required by the regional board for the new permit that we just enrolled into, which is the general permit for the injection of drinking water. It requires us to sample the injected water, so the water that's coming from the Carmel Valley while we're injecting, and then names a number of wells that we have to sample on a quarterly basis. So we will be completing, should this pass, we would use this, and we would pay the lab through a PO associated with this. And this also is under the same amended restated ASR agreement as a reimbursable item. So monies that are spent on the lab are also reimbursed through CalAm.
Okay, so the only cost associated with the real cost is the cost of whoever is keeping track of this and doing the payment and.
Right. And those hours under the agreement, this district staff tracks its hours that it spends working on this, and it is reimbursed for those times as well. So really,
Yeah.
all those processes are kind of caught in that agreement.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I have a question for John. Can you remind me, John, what is the process of changing in the permitting that we're in the process of what here it's described as general waiver for injection of water treated to drinking water standards. And I know this has been discussed, but I'm having trouble remembering what it is exactly we're doing and why.
Absolutely. Where we are in the process is finished with it. And so our goal when we started the process was to unenroll from the ASR program was initiated in the Santa Margarita back in 2001. And at that point in time, the regional board didn't have a general permit. The general permit was actually developed in 2011. And so the regional board at that time, the staff decided to enroll the district into two different permits, one which was a specific discharge of waters to land, and another one was under a pilot program where we submitted an annual report to the Regional Water Control Board. It was kind of a square peg in a round hole. And just last year, well, not last year, but since 2011, the Regional Water Quality Control Board's been going around with a priority list of projects they want to move from how they're being regulated into the general waiver for injection of treated water to drinking water standards. And in 2020, they reached out to us regarding our project. So we had finally risen to the level that they had gotten far enough down the list to where they had reached out to us. They asked us to unenroll from the current, what we were previously enrolled in, and to then enroll into this new general waiver. And we did that. You had seen a number of technical reports and contracts that had been let in order to support that effort. But as of February, we received a letter that said that they had accepted our application and we are now currently enrolled in the new permit.
Thank you.
Chair Edwards, any questions?
No question.
I don't either.
Move
Right,
approval if none from the audience.
Second,
Yep. I second.
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
okay,
Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 15 is consider authorizing Monterey Bay Analytical Services, so the same laboratory, to provide laboratory support, but not for ASR, but for our water master water quality monitoring. So each year, and including this next year, because the water master operates on a calendar year for their budget, we have been contracted with from the water master to support their field monitoring programs and their database work. And so this is the components of having the samples analyzed at the laboratory and then collecting the data and getting it into the database so we can transfer it to the water master. It's a small component. I think the overall contract with the water master is about $70,000 on order of magnitude, and about 11,000 of that is a direct cost to the district at the laboratory. This is 100% reimbursed through the water master service agreement, master service agreement we have with them. The true cost of the laboratory, analysis is passed on, as well as the time of the MPWMD staff to collect, as well as code and bill and cut checks for this. So this is 100% reimbursable through the master services agreement with the water master.
Okay, thank you.
And I take it the arrangement's working out all around.
Right. For us, it's working a lot better. If you remember, we had an agreement from 2009 that had a lot of mechanisms, lump sum payments and different mechanisms in it. And as we've moved to the more transparent billing methodologies, we've moved to just hourly and direct pass on of any direct costs, and it's working much more smoothly for our side as far as tracking and billing.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. Any other questions?
Not for me.
Okay, let's take this out. No, let's see if anybody wants to.
I move to recommend approval.
I'll second that after you check with the public.
Okay,
Anderson, I see no raised hands.
must be falling asleep in my chair, sorry. Okay, let's get a vote.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Anderson,
Yes,
motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 16 is to consider directing general manager to enter into a contract with Montgomery and Associates to provide groundwater modeling support to the district. So Montgomery and Associates is a firm that has the ability to run the seaside groundwater model as well as the Carmel River Basin model. There we have current contract with them that we've onboarded both of these models with them. Montgomery Montgomery is the entity that that provides the modeling support for the water master and as well as for Pure Water Monterey. So they are the experts with the most current tools, and as well as have the ability to ask questions of the Carmel River Basin model. There is not a specific scope of work attached to this contract. This contract would be put in place in case there were questions that arise about operation of Pure Water Monterey, and putting in of different new well fields, working with City of Seaside to develop another source of water to replace ASR1, as well as to support any questions that would arise related to the Los Padres alternative study. So this would be there to be used on an as needed basis in case we needed to get answers on a more quick turnaround than if we were to identify a scope of work and then bring it through committee and bring it through the board and then get approval. So it's a mechanism so that if we do identify something that is helpful to a group trying to solve a problem, we will have money set aside to do this. $50,000 is about enough to ask a model a set of 5 or 6 questions. So that's kind of the order of what we've set aside.
I have a question. Can you explain to me exactly what components, what is in a Carmel River model or the Carmel Valley model? What?
Yeah, absolutely. The Carmel River Basin model is a model that has daily climate and pumping data from 1991 currently to 2015. So it's due for another update. So it simulates on a daily basis. It's a model that's built on the ModFlow framework, so the USGS framework, and it's called a GS Flow model. So it is a coupled surface water routing model that's coupled with GS Flow, so that it is a purely precipitation-driven model. So it rains onto the digital elevation model, and it simulates channelization of flows, and then it simulates pumping, and we can ask the model, for example, what happens if you remove Los Padres Reservoir? What would we expect the river to do? You can ask the model, what do we expect the river to do once the CDO levels of pumping are at are at the 3376. So it's a finite element model that has grids that are about I think they're 300 meters on each side. So it's a pretty discretized model, and it is a daily time step. And so I don't know if I answered your question or if I just
Yeah.
talked around it.
No, that makes sense to me. So, but it's based upon the activities and occurrence and withdrawal levels that were happening starting in, what did you say, 91?
Correct. 1991 is when we started it, because prior to 1991, we also have everyone's private pumping in that model as well, because we have it. We get annual numbers for models. So we did a number of studies where we went around and we read different land use types on a monthly basis. So we knew how to spread that out intelligently, that annual number over the different months. So we basically had a month consumption factor that we used to spread these annual results out. But prior to 1991, there was something that was called a power method that was used, where you got someone's PG&E bill and backed out how much water you thought they used. But it was found that in the late 80s that method had a large amount of error in it. So there was a push to move everybody to put meters on their wells. And so in 1991 was the first year we felt really confident about all of the metered data. So that's where we started.
So all this is probably changed a lot since the removal of the dam and decreasing extraction from the aquifer and.
Yes, you do see that the model is able to. The reason why this code was chosen was you're able to impair the river with pumping of wells, and so you're actually able to simulate the dryback of the river. And so the idea is, to use the modeling we did to support Los Padres alternatives, we have a release schedule that we can release water out of the release points, the outlet works of Los Padres Dam, and you're releasing 5-6 CFS. But then if you remove the dam, you take that release back out of the river, and you can say, well, what effect does that have? How much more dry do we have if we don't have that? So then the balance becomes, is it better to keep the lower river wetted, or if the lower river dries with the removal of the dam, is it better to have the fish to be able to access the habitat above the dam where it would stay wet? And so you can get some better answers of just how much would be wetted and just how much would dry.
Thank you.
Is this the company that, if we were going to do protected water levels like the Seaside Basin, or the Seaside Basin, is this the company that we will use?
It's the same company, and actually the same working group that we would use. So you have they're very familiar with this area and have all of the other data sets as well. And the district has a reimbursement agreement with the Seaside Water Master to participate in an update of this very model. So we're in a cost share agreement with them. So we're already working with and working closely. Our group, myself and Maureen, have been working very closely with the staff as well, working with Pure Water Monterey. So it is the same working group that is working on all of those, as well as the protective water levels.
Okay, the problem I got is if you bumping heads with the Seaside Basin over protected levels, how do we work that out? The same company is doing work for both sides. So how we know we're going to get a fair shake? That's in the future looking at. But is another company out there that can do this kind of work?
There are other companies out there that can do this kind of work. I think I see your point, and I see the other side of that point is you could ask for you could ask to have the tool run in a different way to get an answer of a different answer if the protective water levels, if you felt that the protective water level study was not asking the correct questions of the model, you'd be able to do that as well.
It's,
Okay, Chair, I see Fran waving her
Yeah.
hand.
I see.
I have a follow-up on that. I'm as concerned as Director Edwards. My question is, if the district puts in 5 or 6 questions that it has particular interest in, is that proprietary to us, or does everybody else have access to that?
I believe that it would be subject to Public Records Act. It would be a report that would be given to us.
What? So there isn't any non-disclosure that we could enter into with Montgomery and Associates as to work that is related to us should we get into an adversarial position with any of the other producers in the basin?
I've not approached them with that. They were concerned as well with conflict of interest, and but then said, you know, if basically what you're giving Montgomery is what happens to the water levels in the Seaside Basin, if we're talking about the Seaside Basin, if you ran wells in this manner. And, you know, it's a scientific answer. And so the science itself obviously is surrounded with political, but the science itself is not political, because the model is going to give you an answer. I mean, this model was the model that was used for the Department of Drinking Water and getting of the permits, and in the new engineering report that was just submitted. It's also the one that's being used for protective water levels. So I don't think that the model itself is as controversial as arguing over what inputs go into the model. So that all the controversy is going to be on what question you're actually asking the model, and if that question is a legitimate question.
And one follow-up, John, when did this phrase protective water levels come into being?
The protective water levels have been in being since I want to say 2010. There was a report done by this same group, but at that point in time they were called by a different name, but they were hydrometrics, but then they've been bought by Montgomery and Associates. There was an effort used not by this actual model, but a different model to go through and say, what level would you need the coastal wells to be at to protect the Seaside Basin from seawater intrusion. So it was a different model that was modeling offshore conditions, whereas this model doesn't model offshore conditions, and but it came out of work that was done for the Water Master in 2010.
And then it was updated in 2014, and the principal conclusions remained unchanged.
And was it ever adopted by the judge?
I don't think it was something that was required by the judge. I'm sure it was placed into the annual report,
Okay.
To the judge, but it was not something that was directed. It was something that this group also works up in the Santa Cruz area, in the Soquel area, and it was something they had done for Soquel Creek Water District. And so the Water Master thought that that was a good approach, scientific approach. So it was used because it had been used in other basins in the Monterey Bay.
Thank you, John.
Well, I don't want to take us off this too much. So those are my questions that I have, but I think we need to find somebody to give us a second opinion. You know, it's hard for me to be working with somebody that I might have a problem with, and the same company giving them the, you know, different answers. So I got concerns there, but that's another day. Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
you know, I want to address that really quickly because John tried to point out that the science is agnostic about, you know, who it's doing the work for. But to your point, Director Edwards, the water master is 90% funded by Cal-Am, and so typically they get what they want. And so the guys doing the modeling work say, well, given this set of assumptions, here's your answer. And so the problem that we've been having is the challenge is really at the set of assumptions level. And our voice is smaller on the water master than Cal-Am's voice is. So they're going to get a set of assumptions. But I think the point that John was making is we could separately ask a question or an inquiry or have a separate set of assumptions. And you'll get, again, an honest answer from the technical team because they're just modeling the results based on the input set of assumptions. So that would remain protected for a while if we did it in the context of a pending or threatened litigation, which goes to Fran's question of, you know, can there be non-disclosure? Until discovery happens, I suspect we can protect it, and maybe even after, I don't know. But I think that these, you know, this team, because they've got the knowledge, it would be really challenging to bring in another party and train them up to be competitively knowledgeable on the basin. But you know, we can look around.
Okay, well, I understand that, and we can talk about it another time, but I'm just, my concern, during this adjudication, we didn't have water in the basin, I guess. Correct me if I'm not wrong. So, you know,
That's right.
Cal-Am got 90% of the water, but we are responsible for managing that. So that's where I'm going. Being a manager, hey, I may not approve what the company does, but it's a better way to do it, or we need less water or more water, then, you know, that's where I'm going with that. So that's another question for another day. All right.
Through the chair, is the model itself proprietary? Or could another consultant use the same model, put in different assumptions and do that analysis?
The model itself is not proprietary, and actually it was developed for the Seaside Basin Water Master. So they have a version that's been developed, but that version, then the version that's currently being used now, has been recalibrated by Monterey One Water under the money that have been spent. So actually, there is a pathway that our district, through our partnership and funding of Pure Water Monterey, we've put in real money into making the model what it is right now, as well as we have a three-way partnership with Cal-Am to update this model with the Water Master and sharing in all the costs. So I think that this model fairly is everybody's model.
Okay, so if we wanted to run a study with different assumptions, we could do that.
Correct.
Okay, I don't want to take us off this, but that's my concerns, and I know we're going to be going back to it in the future. So those some of my concerns. So I approve the 50,000.
Second. Where's our chair?
Okay. Any public questions?
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Thank you.
Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 17 is related to the Robles del Rio USGS gauge. The cost estimate is about $17,500, and it's a cost share that the district has been undertaking since the late 1980s. when the USGS approached the district shortly after the district funding or forming in 1978. And the USGS does partner with other agencies. For example, it has 2 gauges. The Robles gauge is up by Esquiline Bridge, and the near Carmel gauge is more down towards just below Mid Valley, and it is funded in joint with the county water resources agency. And so they have a funding agreement with us and with the county. This would extend this into water year 2023. And I had included the agreement for the committee's review of the agreement we entered into in water year 2022. This likely won't take place until near the beginning of the year, as the federal budget is different than our budget. But because our budget is starting, I wanted to get this in front of the committee for approval should you approve moving forward with this joint funding. I will say that this gauge is called out directly as a gauge in our water rights permits. So that's the reason why we've gravitated towards this one, is it is named in order for us to divert water for ASR. Someone needs to create this record. And so this is a as the data scientists, the hydrologists on the river, we like the presence of the USGS gauge because it is a separate agency that offers a check on the rest of our gauges that are called out. Is if our gauging system is matching their gauging system, it just adds a robustness to our data set, we feel, as far as moving forward as we're moving to perfect our water rights for ASR. So I see it as a benefit of kind of a secondary check and another federal agency that's kind of weighing in on the correctness of our data sets.
John, the question from, is this a new gauge that goes out every year, or is this a gauge that is recalibrated every year?
This is so it's a stream gauge. So it is what it does is it measures the depth of water in the river.
Okay, but I understand that, but is it new, or is it a new gauge that they bring out?
It's maintained when it needs to be maintained. So I was going to say that it's checked and it has to be within its calibration as far as the pressure record of the gauge. And then the stage discharge is maintained every time they take a new measurement. They're adjusting and so the equipment itself is swapped out and maintained and calibrated, and the gauge itself has actually been there since the late 50s, I believe.
Okay, haven't we spent enough money to buy a new one? Somebody?
Well, it used to be a float gauge back in the 50s. Now it's pressure transducer, and it used to use phone lines. Now it uses cell phones, and so
Okay.
it's being upgraded to its current technology.
All right.
I move
Additional
approve to,
questions?
I move to recommend approval.
Second,
Go out to the public, please.
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
yes,
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay, this 18 is my last item. So it is consider funding to upgrade 6 Carmel River monitoring stations and current meters. This is a little bit to your question, Director Edwards, is we have some old equipment out there that is now due for upgrade as far as the communication component of it. Some of these older stations, they're not telemetered back to the district. So district staff has to go out and actually download these data, bring them back and upload them to our server. This is an effort to bring them all current. So they would all communicate either over cell phone or satellite back to the district and can be remotely accessed and we'll bring the data into the district. We want to upgrade from analog monitoring current meters to the new sonar type digital meters that will create measurements and upload them straight to our database. So this is kind of adapting newer technology to one, save time, and as far as manual entry, and save data errors from manual entry, and to bring them into our data sets, as well as provide one of the final products that we will be moving towards will be what we're calling our Streamflow dashboard, where you'll be able to pull up a website from the district website, and you'll be able to see the instantaneous flows at each one of the Carmel River gauges that the district has. This will have a couple different benefits for us. One, for operation of ASR, we'll be able to know exactly what's going on instead of having to wait for the daily averages. Two, it gives our hydrologists ideas, direct data for where the storms have hit the basin and which gauges are responding. So if we have an area where we need some more measurements in certain levels of flow to better define our rating curves for those gauges, we can watch to see which gauges are reaching those flows that we would preferentially go and measure those to make that record a more robust record. And three, it has the fisheries crews are very interested in this dashboard, so they can tell exactly what's going on real time in the river as it's drying back, and it can help them prioritize where they're going to go out and focus their rescue efforts on. So we're trying to get all the data in a spot and get it in the hands of our workers so they can utilize it and to make better decisions.
Just a quick question. Who's going to put those in? I don't see a labor cost on here anywhere.
We will. We have the technical ability to do that, and we have the technical support of the vendors that we buy the items from, and it's not something that we haven't done in the past. We've done it at all the other sites. We just have 6 left.
Okay, I see you got a 5% contingency, $2,948. You know, I hope you don't need it, but if you do, that's it before you come talking to me again.
Right. What we did was we built this estimate off of a number of quotes we got, but not knowing, if the quotes would expire and what would happen. We wanted to make sure that if the prices went up, we could absorb those.
Good job.
I have no additional questions.
I have
Well, I'll
none.
move approval.
Okay,
Second,
any public questions? Comments?
I see no raised hands, Chair Anderson.
Okay, let's get a vote.
Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Paul,
yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
So it looks like this is a Suresh's item, number 19.
Yeah, directors, this is a recurring item. We've been using Larry Hampson, district engineer who retired in 2019. Post his retirement, we've been utilizing him on an interim basis as a project person and also district engineer as well, because the district is legally required to have a district engineer on staff. And so this suffices that need. So this may be the final year that we would go through this. Internally, we have been talking about transitioning the district engineer position to another staff. But regardless of that, we do need to have this contract renewed at least for this year. There are some projects outstanding that Larry will be looking after, the fish rearing channel project, and also the Sleepy Hollow project itself. That's kind of like is being wrapped up. Probably another few months, and they'll be all done. So we will need this contract renewed from July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 23. And if during this time we try to transition the district engineer position to another staff, we will definitely bring that action before this committee as well. So
Yeah,
the cost is going to be up to $85,000. Again, this is just the salary and taxes, no benefits. As a retired annuitant, he is not subject to any benefits as well at all. And the agreement for this is going to be a 12-month part-time contract.
Yeah, and Suresh, is this one written in a manner that if we make the transition, well, not if, I have promised to make the transition to of district engineer actually pretty much before the calendar year is out. So as written, can that happen?
Yes.
Okay. And I've already asked Simona also to bring back to me what exactly we have to bring in front of the board to appoint someone else district engineer. But Larry has indicated an interest in full retirement. I've encouraged him to do so. And it's a little bit overdue for Maureen Hamilton to step up as a full-time staff member as a district engineer. So all of that will happen probably end of third quarter of the current calendar year.
Sound good to me. I just hope Larry cleaned up all that stuff out there. So I just don't have a new voice coming back to me saying, I need this, I need that.
Yeah, I
So-
think that the project will last past the beginning of the next calendar year. So Larry will still stay on in some function, but without the title.
Okay. I move approval.
A second. Anybody in the public got their hand raised?
I see no raised hands.
Okey-doke.
Director Edwards,
Approval.
Director Paul,
Sorry, I got disconnected there, just rejoined. We're voting on 19?
yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
And Chair Anderson,
yes.
motion passes 3-0.
And directors, item number 20 is the consider adding the position of administrative assistant to the district organization chart. This is the other item I was talking about when we were seeking authorization for the temporary staff from Universal Staffing.
Yeah.
This is the request for a full-time position, and the cost for this is $68,000 full year salary plus benefits. We are recommending that the administrative assistant position for the water demand division be brought in at a range 8 on the district salary chart. That is in comparison to other organizations within the jurisdiction. And I'll let Stephanie fill in on the details in terms for the justification of the admin assistant staff.
So I think, as we discussed previously, what we found is that we have an ongoing need for someone who can digitize electronic file, input information that we receive on transfers of title, changes of property. We have ongoing scanning needs for plan sets. And that actually is something, since we got the new database, we've added electronic filing of construction plans. So we have something to go back to refer to. We added a process several years ago to require landscape water permits in compliance with the state mandated landscape ordinance. And that also requires digitizing of large format plans. And so we know right now that we can fill this position, and it is a full-time position currently being undertaken by the temporary that we have. But again, we've found this is a need for this division to be able to keep up with our electronic filing systems.
So what percent of time do you expect this person would be devoting to scanning documents and the digitalization of our records?
Well, currently, again, he has been here for a long time. And it is a full-time position. We do occasionally have projects that we help out with in other divisions. And as Suresh mentioned, there's personnel records, some of the financial records, that kind of thing that can be uploaded into the DocuWare system. And so we've been able to assist with those projects as well. But for the most part, it is a full-time job in this division. Although, like I said, and I'm always willing to go help out other people too, but it is a full-time position.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I'm not gonna argue about it. I told Dave, or the board told Dave, go get him some help, but he preferred helping out his employees. So I move approval.
All right, I second.
Any questions from the audience or the attendees? Sarah,
I see no raised hands, Chair Anderson.
thank you. Okay, let's get a vote.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
I do have one in the budget, Director Edwards.
well, I prefer saying yours first, then saying this one, but you went the other way. That's fine by me.
Okay. Item number 21.
So item 21 is the approval of amendment number 6 to our original agreement with Regional Government Services Authority. And that is for the management administrative services, which is part of the high-end human resources related stuff. This is a scale back contract. Previously, over the last 6 years, we've come to the board to ask for a $70,000 contract because that was a full-blown HR position filling in on a contractual basis. But now, since we've got a full-time in-house human resources coordinator / contracts specialist position, we don't need a full-blown HR contract with RGS, but we do need a scaled-down version. And basically, the scaled-down version is just providing high-end human resources related advice to the district. They have more resources than we can have with just one individual, as well as they are also providing us help with recruitment services. When we have current recruitments, RGS does help us with kind of like planning and advertising and collecting the resumes and doing some of those legwork. So that does save some time for our in-house person, because the in-house HR person does have a time split between contracts and HR. So this is additional help, high-end HR help, and also helps with the recruitment as well. So we've scaled the contract down from $70,000 a year to $35,000 a year, but we don't anticipate using the entire $35,000 for the year.
Thank you.
I move approval.
Second,
That is to recommend approval.
Okay, and Alvin, you seconded?
yes, I did.
Thank you.
And I see no raised hands, Chair Anderson.
Okay,
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Anderson,
yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Item number 22 is again, consider approval of agreement with Links Technologies for GIS services, which is Geographic Information Systems. Since the departure of our full-time GIS person back in, I want to say 2016, 2017 timeframe, We did evaluate our needs at that time, and it was determined that we do not need a full-time GIS person, that we could get along with a contract part-time position. And so we seeked out some services from GIS services, and we figured out Links Technologies, which was providing GIS services in the locally to the Park District and also to the Pebble Beach Community Services District, as well as some cities up north. And so we seeked out Links services or actually Links Technologies to provide the GIS services. And so we've been using them for the last 5 years, and it's been working out well. So this is just another amendment to the existing agreement, which would be for the fiscal year July 22 through June 23. There is no increase in price. Links Technologies has kept the price at the same level that that they had originally signed up with us. And they have helped us streamline some of those GIS databases. They've cleaned up the databases. We had pockets of databases all throughout the district, and so he's helping us tremendously by streamlining all of those databases, bringing those pocket databases into SQL database. So he's great with that. Currently, he's working with John's group as well, and he's also helping us on the water supply charge database as well. So he's done some good stuff on the GIS side. We'd like to extend his contract for this upcoming fiscal year. It's a budgeted position that's included in the budget, and the amount is for $35,000.
Any questions?
I recommend, I move to recommend approval.
Second,
Did you just second that?
He did.
yes, I did.
Okay,
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Okay. Take a vote.
Director Paul,
yes,
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
So the next item is to authorize expenditure for software maintenance agreements / purchase. They aren't any purchases. These are all basically renewals. This district has been utilizing these softwares for quite some time. This is a recording item. I have listed the product itself and the price that is associated with the renewal of the software. It's a various of softwares from GIS systems to Adobe to antiviruses to Office 365. Also has DocuWare, Tyler, Acela, Caseware, Kistas North America. So all of those are listed there. In parentheses, I've listed basically whether it's a specific division or if it's a district-wide. So just to help the reader understand where the software is being utilized. The amount that's being asked for the renewal is $152,400. There have been slight increases on all the softwares. That's fairly typical. It goes anywhere from 3 to 5% on software price increase. There are some softwares that don't increase their renewal prices, but for the most part, you will see an increase between 3 to 5% for the softwares.
Thank you. I have no questions.
I have none.
just one for me. We supposed to be
Director Edwards.
doing something about the computer security.
Yes, that
It-
is going to be an item that, because June is a fully loaded agenda, we didn't want to bring that to the board closed session in June, but we'll definitely be bringing that in July, closed session.
Okay,
Good.
is that in the budget?
The acceptance of the report is what's going to be required by the board. The actual implementation is in different phases, and yes and no. Part of it is in the budget. The other part is a ongoing maintenance that's going to kind of like happen as it comes along. For example, purchase of servers are in the budget, purchase of the switches are in the budget, purchase of implementation and doing some network layouts, that's in the budget. Implementation or installation of a monitoring system is in the budget. So parts of it is in the budget. You can't as I had mentioned when I was doing the report, that all of it, there isn't a magic number that I can point to and say this is what's going to cost for the entire process.
Yeah, you told
it
us
is-
that, but all I want to know is you got enough in the budget that at mid-year review, you wouldn't be asking for some more money to do unless you need to do some more work. So
Yes,
all
no,
that work that you just said is going to be done before mid-year review or what?
yes, all of those projects are happening. The implementation phase is going to start July 1 as they are doing new installations. The cost of that will include will include patching up any vulnerabilities that's been discovered in the report. So we won't be coming and asking for additional money to do any of those stuff.
Okay, sound good.
Suresh, did I just hear you say you want to move the cybersecurity assessment and report to the July meeting?
Correct, because June's a fully loaded
Okay.
meeting. We'd like to do that in July.
And I hope you don't make it a long report like the last
No, it'll
one.
be a short one, but
Oh, I
I'm pretty
hope
sure there's
so.
going to be a lot of questions.
I hope so. All right.
Okay, I recommend approval.
I second the motion.
And Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Thank you.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes,
Motion passes 3-0.
So the next item, number 24, has a long title, but in simplified word, basically, this is a resolution authorizing for the district to collect its water supply charge through the property tax bills. Back in 2012, when we were working on the water supply charge, there was two different mechanisms to collect the water supply charge. One of them was a direct bill, which was going to cost us almost, if I recall, between $450,000 to $500,000 a year. The other simplified mechanism was to simply place it on the property tax bill with the assessor's office, and that the charge for that was going to be 0.25 or 1/4%. And so based on $3.4 million of water supply charge revenue, that's about $8,500. So that was the cheapest way we can get the water supply charge collected. And that's what the district board decided at that point. But every year, on an annual basis, we have to pass a resolution, adopt a resolution so that the county can continue collection of the water supply charge. So that's what this action is, to adopt the resolution so that that certifies the compliance with state law with respect to the levying of the general and special tax assessments and property related fee and charge. So once this resolution is adopted, we give the resolution to the county and also the hand them over the water supply charge file, and then they do the collection from there on.
any questions?
I move to recommend approval to the board.
second,
I see no raised hands, Chair Anderson.
Okay, thank you.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes,
Motion passes 3-0.
Item number 25 is the adoption of a resolution which establishes the appropriations limit. That's in accordance with Article 13B. Every year we have to go through this because we do receive the property tax revenue. And so we have to calculate what's called the appropriations limit, and it uses the price and population figures. There is a attachment to the actual resolution that shows the calculation. And so this year's appropriations limit is a little over $2 million for the fiscal year 22-23. And we are getting $2.5 million estimated property tax revenue for the year, but because we have some exempt appropriations for the capital improvement project, so that brings us to the to the appropriation subject limit of a negative number, which is under the appropriation limit, which means we are able to collect all of the property tax, $2.5 million, and use it for the current fiscal year. So a calculation is provided, like I said, to the attachment of the actual resolution. If there's any question on how I got to the numbers, I can go through that, but the numbers are pretty much out there. We just have to use the price and population index numbers that's published by the Department of Finance for state of California. And then we put in our own property tax numbers, and we just come up with the appropriations limit calculation.
What's an example of exempt appropriations?
An example would be a capital project. So like we do the work on the ASR project, that is a exempt appropriation.
Capital expenditure. Yeah.
True, yeah, true infrastructure projects.
Okay, thanks. You probably said that, but I was catching up. Okay. I get it.
So this would just be adopting the resolution.
Yeah, I move to recommend approval.
Second,
Yeah.
And Chair Anderson, we no longer have any attendees present.
Okay.
Let's vote.
Take a vote.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
yes,
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
So this happens to me all the time. Towards the end of the meeting, when it comes to the financial stuff, the audience disappears. Item number 26 is the consider adoption of treasurer's report for the month of April. During the month of April, we did cut checks in the amount of $3.7 million. There were about $21,000 in rebates paid. If I take your attention to exhibit number 26A on the next page, 133, you'll see we started the we started the month with $19.8 million, and we finished the month with $20.4 million. We did get our second proceeds from the county assessor's office for the property tax and the water supply charge that was deposited during the month of April. And so we did cut some checks as well. So the balance did go up. Our final piece of water supply charge and property tax will come in June, but that's going to be a very small item. From here on, we'll just be getting our user fee collection and be cutting checks for the next few months. But that's the actual treasurer's report presented on page 133. Exhibit B and C are the disbursement register and the payroll register, and then Exhibit D is the unaudited financial statements for the month of April. That's all I have on that one.
move adoption or treasury reports.
I second the motion to recommend approval or adoption.
Okay.
Okay.
Director Edwards,
Approval,
Director Paul,
Yes,
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
So items 27 and 28 are just informational items at this point. If there's any questions, we can go through those, or if not, then we can go to item 29, which is the review of the board agenda.
Great. So glancing at the board agenda, right off the top, there is a change. It will be rescheduled for 6 o'clock, regular meeting only, and the closed session item will be moved to July.
Okay.
Then, keeping in mind we have a special session set up for July 8th, the cybersecurity assessment and report will actually go to the regular board meeting date later in the month. July 8th will be focused on the Measure J appraisal issue, as well as recent threatened litigation over ASR well number 1. On this board agenda, the consent calendar is pretty much everything that you just considered here at this meeting. So I just want to draw your attention to the action items. Action item 34 will be the formal adoption of the budget. Action item 35 is a revisiting. You may recall in March, there were certain suggestions made to committee charges and meeting frequencies. Some of those don't require any formal change in a meeting rule, but some of them do. So we'll be bringing back the ones that do require some edits or changes.
Thank you.
And then finally, item 36, we had gone to Water Demand Committee with some concepts about a new building to go in on the Montage campus. There was a lack of some good data as to how much water from their allocation had been used on the Chomp campus in Monterey. But we've also since then done a little bit more research on other options that might be possible. So we'll bring back a smorgasbord of options on this Chomp expansion.
Oh.
And those are the only other items that are of interest. If you have any questions, I'll take them.
Dave, I missed what you said about the date change. You moved this to,
Yeah, so there's currently scheduled a July 8th special session to talk about next steps of Measure J.
okay,
And we've added to that just information on potential pending and threatened litigation on ASR well number 1.
okay,
Then the cybersecurity assessment will get moved all the way to the regular meeting date in July, which is July 18th.
so July 8th is just a special session.
Right, and July 8th is the time,
It's morning, I think.
yeah, it's
I think you have it at
10
10
o'clock.
o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Mhm.
Want me to get out of bed? All right.
Okay,
Oh. Question,
yes,
Amy? Question on 36 on the Montage. Dave has Water Demand Committee had a chance to hear your potpourri of options?
No,
Okay, so this will not have been,
I mean, they heard the two options that we brought at that meeting. And it was kind of kicked back out because we didn't have a number for how much water had actually been used at the Chomp campus. Since that time, the only other options are we hadn't proposed, I think verbally we did, but we didn't have it in the staff note. The district does have the district reserve that you may recall had been put under consideration for the Garden Road housing project. But other than that, there's no silver bullet of new options other than what we're talking about at the previous water demand committee.
And they already building that building that you're talking about, right?
No, they're building the Ohana adolescent mental health building. That's the one with the giant crane.
Yeah.
And that one had water because they kept their building permit open for so long. And then they finished the Women's Health Center.
mhm,
And that was one that was based on acquired water. And now we're sorting through this building was actually part of an approval, kind of like the first building, the first phase. But it's pretty clear that the water permit was not extended to the full size of the square footage, but only to the square footage that got built. And so it would be treated as a new building, and they're working on all the entitlement of it now and final plan check and everything. But the issue is they had started going, trying to find an allocation from a pumper, Seaside Basin alternate producer or standard producer, similar to what they did for that big office building about 5 or 6 years ago. And so as an alternative to having them have to pay for, $2.5 to $3 million for water, we had brought to the Water Demand Committee the concept of the moving water from the Chomp Hospital campus allocation that was created over here, especially now that the pipeline has been interconnected. So it would be, it would be possible to physically do so. And that's when the Water Demand Committee said, well, how much water is left? And we were still doing that assessment. So that's still the primary idea. Since then, Stephanie's group said, well, you could tap the district reserve, which is a possibility.
All right, so we'll see more detail in a staff note before the meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Hey. Anything else? Are we ready to adjourn?
I think so.
Yep, it's adjourned. It's 4:15.
Dave, you were gonna stay on the line with Fran and me?
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
pick a time to talk.
All right, thank you. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you very much for all that work that went into these items. Thanks all.